Hello, Daniel, Andrew. How you guys doing?
Howdy. Pretty good.
Oh, Daniel, I think your audio may not be functioning. While you are figuring that out, I will introduce the event for today. Today, we're going to be covering a handful of projects in the Pioneer Tournament. We have 8 lined up, covering a variety of topics. We have the good old landing page feedback for a bunch of these, as well as a few specific questions, how to think about an MVP, a couple pitch deck reviews, as well as the question of converting free users to paid users. So to start, first up we have ChapterMe. Daniel, do you want to take it from here?
Sure. What should we get started with?
ChapterMe, an interactive table of contents for all your videos and podcasts.
That is, you just want us to, we should just be getting started with homepage review. Should I screen share?
Yes, landing page feedback for this team from Iowa.
Okay. You guys see what's going on here?
Yep.
Cool. All right, Andrew, what do you think? What does this company do, in your opinion?
Well, if I had to guess, I would say that they give my videos chapters, kind of stuff that you see on YouTube when it breaks down the video into separate sections.
Okay.
I don't use podcasts all that often, but I assume they're doing the same thing for those as well. So for landing page feedback, I mean, it's pretty clear given from the first tagline what you guys are doing, which is, I think, good. There's, I see a few call to actions. As I scroll down, I can see what the value, like the different value props are around like better SEO, better interactivity, makes it easy for you. I think all in all so far, it's pretty well conveyed. The classic testimonials, and then even a demo at the bottom of the page. And I think you also linked if I remember correctly from the spreadsheet, another demo example, applying your tech to one of Pioneer's videos, which is pretty cool. So yeah, this looks pretty good. I guess my initial feedback is thinking about the target user and what they would like to see. So if I'm like a content creator or a podcaster or all of that, I think your copy is well designed for that target demographic. You explain the value prop in the feature section. You kind of explain exactly what the product does from the first bit. Yeah, I think the landing page is good. I remember clicking on the get started link and it popping up open a type form. So there may be some slight drop off, but given that your guys are in beta still, but I don't think that's from the landing page itself. I think it's pretty good, conveys everything really well. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's interesting. The landing page is good. I think that it's interesting to think how this becomes a business, given that this kind of is done automatically for free through employment of just YouTube commenters do it. Now, I guess you might say the long tail podcasts don't have that, and so it's nice that like long tail podcasts can now, and YouTube videos can now have chapters too. Looks good overall.
I guess I would add a few things that maybe more minor. This isn't like a big change, but more, I would say for the call to action, it could be a little bit more obvious. Right now, it's kind of on the left-hand side and the button's a little bit on the smaller side. And I think as I scroll down, there's only 2 call to actions that I saw. One in the top right, which I think links to the same type form, and one on the front. I would just make it a little bit clearer, center, and also one at the very bottom, just that there's more touch points after the user has a chance to scroll through and understand everything else that's going on. The other thing that comes to mind would be pricing, but I'm assuming you guys are probably still figuring this out given that you're in beta. If I'm a content creator and this is something that will save me time, get me more users, presumably get me more money, I'd be interested to know how much this is going to cost me to implement into my video or my podcast. So if I were a content creator coming to here, I'd be like, oh, how much am I paying for this? Which I think is a good reaction.
The other thing that I'm wondering is if I'm a podcast host and I don't actually do video, and so most of my listeners are on Spotify and the Apple Podcasts app or what have you, where does this fit into their flow? And does this mean my users have to now go somewhere else? My listeners have to now go somewhere else completely, or does it kind of fit in nicely somehow? Yeah, from just scrolling, not clear to me what the answer is.
Yeah, in podcasts that I've used, in the podcast players that I've used, I'm not sure where that feature comes out. Although maybe it exists for some other players. The ability to kind of segment by chapter and jump from chapter to chapter. You're right in that it's a lot clearer for YouTube videos, given that we interact with them. I interact with them more regularly, and can see how that fits in.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully that's helpful. Let's jump to the next one. Next up, we have Achee. This is from Feranmi in Nigeria. He has a couple questions. The first one is how to convert free users to paid users. I think we could actually start with a slightly different question, which is, I'll wait for Daniel to pull it up. Which is for something like Achee. It's an investment portfolio tracker. And we've seen variants of this on Pioneer as well as just in general. I think all of us have seen versions of this. So one question is, what might it take to make this successful, the successful variant of all of the versions of this that have been tried?
So like you mentioned, Rishi, the tricky thing about these is that there are so many of them, and there is a bit of a burden for anybody to transfer their money from one place to another in order to, or not necessarily transfer their money, but to sync all their accounts to one place and jump through all those hoops in order to get that single view of their portfolio. So what's the reason why someone should use this over, I don't know, Mint is one of the well-known ones, or many of the other ones that are out there.
Achee, if you're listening, Feranmi, if you're listening, by the way, on YouTube, feel free to comment your response in the live chat, and then we'll see if we can get back to you.
It's a bit higher level, but one of the things with my experiences with Mint of getting like it kind of like the table stakes of what these trackers do is that they connect your accounts, they don't disconnect randomly, and they are able to kind of just reflect the value of your portfolio over time. I think that even to this day, just getting to that level has been, a little tricky because I don't know, Robinhood disconnects all the time, so other account disconnects, or it's a little bit too much of a hassle to sync something that has two-factor authentication. There's a bunch of these like little things here and there that cause like these portfolio trackers to not really be up to par. But let's say that you're kind of at that point where you can offer those table stakes. What beyond that is like differentiated for any of these trackers out there? I've seen kind of like the intelligent approach of giving you recommendations for, say, budgeting or for like investing and stuff like that. But I haven't really seen anything that is truly like differentiated. And I think it's hard. It's hard to come up with something to offer something that other people don't offer if you're just acting as the aggregator for all these different accounts and you're not necessarily one of these banks or trading indices or trading platforms. So I think for all of these, it's kind of a tricky problem of like, how can you actually build something different? And today, at least, I've had a hard time finding anything.
Yeah, it's interesting that the problem is not solved despite a lot of products attempting to solve it. I think it is because, to your point, it's very similar to why, it's similar to why principally taxes and accounting cannot be automated in software. Everyone's a little bit different. So maybe there's room in the market for something to be done here. The product I have wanted, and maybe I'm not the target demo, is since everyone is a little bit different, I actually don't want an automatic dashboard will slurp in all of your Robinhood or E-Trade, or interactive brokers data. It just never works. I kind of want a bit more of an Accenture thing where, like, we'll build a dashboard for you, and like maybe maybe Retail's a better example. Behind the scenes, we have like all sorts of automated building blocks, but we recognize that there's some human intervention required here. I think that could be an interesting product. I don't think that you have to spend that much time per customer developing, the individual dashboard, but that would fix, I think, why a lot of these crypto taxes, trading taxes, things get a lot of churn is, people import all their data and then it's like doesn't work or is missing a thing and then they unchurn. It may be that there's a little bit of handholding necessary here. I think kind of like just, I don't know, filing taxes in general. I don't think you can fully automate it.
For the sake of trying to at least directly answer Fermi's question, how should he think about converting free users to paid users? And it may be that, of course, the answer to this question is very related to the conversation we were just having.
Mm-hmm. I would think about it from like what Daniel and I have talked about, maybe specific to like ourselves and kind of like the troubles that we found using, I don't know, Mint or the various other apps in the space. I would think about who your target users are. Like, who did you specifically build this for? And it sounds like you probably built it for yourselves, and your peers. Where the point about excluding most Africans is something that I find interesting, because it sounds like there are certain idiosyncrasies that you guys encounter when you try to like manage your own money that you can't use some of the more popular, like, I don't know, Intuit products or otherwise to track. Maybe it's the presence of crypto. Maybe it's the presence of other accounts that aren't fully supported. Maybe it's something else like that. So the best way to get an answer to this question is literally to ask yourself or to talk to your current users or current free users or the people that you think are going to be the majority users of your product or the ones that are willing to pay, and ask them, hey, like, you guys have tried using Mint or these various other things. Why did you stop using them? And then build those into your product. If I had to guess, as someone who's not kind of in the same demographic, it would be something along the lines of integrating accounts that aren't like commonly supported. So I'm guessing there's probably some sort of long tail of services or integrations that are necessary in order to create like a view of where all your assets are. If you're not, based in the US or Europe or something like that. So I'm guessing it would be something along those lines, but it could be something different as well. But in short, it's talk to your existing free users about what would you actually pay for, and then use those answers to inform your product decisions.
Yes. I think all of that is right. I also think this is going to be the type of thing where it's going to be much easier to just charge it from. And you'll suffer poor conversion, but it's just going to be an easier way to optimizing that will be much easier than optimizing, I think, trying to convert people later on. I think I could, just because this is a product that involves money, and so like I don't actually think it's, since you're so close to the dollars, I don't think it's that, and everyone else is charging money for theirs. I don't think it's that unexcusable to charge up front. I feel like the situations where you don't want to charge up front because you really want to talk to people first are ones where price discovery is a bit less certain. But here, like, all the other folks are charging, so I don't know if this should be free. Anyway.
I also might, just last thing, by the way, is if you really think what you're building here is uniquely suited to a user in Africa or some African particular country in Africa, maybe worth making that clear on the landing page.
I think that's a good point. In that, like, the first thing that I think I commented when I saw the page is like, okay, well, what is different compared to all the portfolio managers? If you're targeting a specific demographic, then it makes sense, like Rishi said, to make that clear, because your landing page then is more easy. The value proposition is then more easily understood by the people coming to it, and they won't necessarily ask the same question. They'll be like, oh, it's for someone like me with my kinds of problems.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to MoviePal.
MoviePal.
This is an interesting one. Pablo from the UK just asked for landing page feedback. We can do that for him, but then I have a separate question, which is, what are maybe analogous things that Pablo could turn this into that may have a clearer path to becoming big?
Mhm. The age-old problem of what should I watch on Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, or whatever uh, tonight.
Yeah, it is interesting that this is not solved. In fact, it's probably getting worse with the benefit of abundance.
Mhm.
I mean, I would say this landing page looks, sorry to be blunt, but it just looks cheap. And I don't understand exactly why. I think it's because there's a huge video. That's obviously just a YouTube video, and the padding is unequal. And this font, I feel like, is a font that's commonly used in templates. But I think you could quickly spruce it up and just make it look a bit more professional. Probably remove the video entirely. Um, and just include a mock of the product in action. I don't know, video recommendations. I mean, this is like I think we will probably be still discussing this when we become a multi-planetary species. So you guys have any ideas?
I guess to echo the first thing about the way I put it simply on the landing page is I don't think you need a video to explain what you're doing. It might help to have like a mock or something like that, but I think just telling the user, "Hey, we help you find what movie to watch," is like a simple enough sentence in of itself to convey your value proposition. I don't think you need like the long blocks of text afterwards or even the video. To answer the other question, which is it's our first one was landing page feedback, and the second one was what could this become? Uh, Part of the feedback I give to kind of I don't know how to lump these into a category, but I'll list them, and I guess you'll see a pattern. Like the startup ideas around or project ideas around like, what should I watch tonight, or where are my friends going out to party tonight, or like how can I like I don't know, do better travel planning with my friends, or these kinds of like social problems that are commonplace amongst you and your friends, but not something necessarily that you uh, might pay a lot of money to solve. I'm not sure exactly how I would categorize each of these problems, but they seem to be a lot of things that us as users can easily empathize with because we deal with these problems all the time and we want to build a solution for them. So the first thing that we decided to do is build a project for it. And then inevitably, at least in my experience, when I went through the same experience, same situation, you build it, you realize that it's not as useful as you thought it was, and not many people end up using it, and you end up moving to something else. That's a little bit blunt, but like I feel like a lot of these projects kind of end up going after these same categories. And in order to paint a picture of like, oh, this could become really, really big, it needs to be looking at something beyond like the table stakes problem of like where your friends are at or what movie to see, etc. I guess one of the more recent examples I saw of this that are kind of interesting is a company called Netflix Party, where they got pretty popular during the pandemic when the simple problem was basically sync your like I want to watch a movie with my friend, but we want to watch them at the same time, so we're not like saying like 3, 2, 1, start. And then this company came about, and I think they raised or were in the process of raising around early on during the pandemic because they just grew like crazy. Um, it's one of these things that I think you can get a decent amount of traction, but it's hard to differentiate because you're not like actually on the platform or the service itself. You're just kind of like a nice little layer on top of it that's solving some problem. But it's not hard for the company to build it into a product if it's really that hard. Like, do you think that you can do a better job of solving like Netflix's recommendation problem? It's kind of a tall order, I think. So sorry if that was a little bit long of a ramble, but I think the point I'm trying to make is that it's hard for these kinds of ideas to get really big. But it's easy to see why these are the kinds of ideas that are fun to work on as like as a project because it's solving like your own problem.
I was always intrigued by the idea, if you go on Reddit, you can see people making movie recommendations. If I watch this and this and this and this, what about that? And then other things comment. And I think you can probably crawl the web and using named entity recognition, basically generate lists of human movie recommendations in software that I think would be probably better than whatever Netflix is doing. You really enjoyed um, The Wolf of Wall Street and the Enron documentary and X, and so maybe another human will recommend some type of economic carnage film. That categorical understanding, something recommender algorithms don't seem to do well, but humans do. And I think you could just crawl the web and regurgitate that on a website, which could be kind of fun. Now, I don't know how that makes money, but it would be.
I have had a similar experience. When I used to watch anime, there was a subreddit called Anime Suggest where you literally did that. I liked A, B, C anime, recommend something else for me, and they give you something that's kind of in the same category. You know what I mean? And I don't think that, people ever ask for money for this sort of thing, but you're right in that human creation of taking, like, having watched all 26 episodes of something and 26 episodes of something else and being like, yeah, like this thing falls into these same categories. I think humans do a pretty good job of doing that. Probably, like you said, better than Netflix, but I don't see how that one becomes like a really big thing that people are willing to pay for.
Yeah.
Or to summarize all of this, it would be, I think the crux of this is going to be for this team figuring out what is the actual really difficult thing that people will pay for. 'Cause it's not clear that solving the sort of group dynamic question of what do we watch is going to be something that people pay for.
Yep.
Fifth Pro Fantasy. So this team actually has, there's a link to, we can browse the landing page very quickly just to get a sense of what they're building, but they actually gave us a pitch deck. So let's take a look at the pitch deck and give them some quick feedback.
So if I were to summarize the landing page here, it sounds like you're building something around collectibles for fantasy football players.
Seems like that.
All right.
At least two of us I know of the three are fantasy sports players, so you should have some engaged listeners here.
So the first thing that comes to mind when I read like rewards is a few things. One is like pick'ems. There are like daily. I don't know if this is available in Africa. I know it's a thing in the United States where you can basically enter like a league, and you can. There's two things. One is there's a social league where you and your friends put up some money and play in a league. There's also like the public tournaments where like on a every single week you could try to build like the best possible team, and there are rewards involved. I'm not sure if this exists outside of the US and like Western Europe though. Because it sounds like the problem you're trying to solve is people who engage in fantasy football in Africa don't have a way of making money on their skill. So let's give them a way to make money on their skill.
Yeah, I don't really understand this company, to be honest. I don't understand what the problem that this company is. It that in fantasy football tournaments in Africa, full remittance is difficult, and so you want to use cryptocurrency for that? Is that the issue? Has no rewards, so we're going to help people with crypto rewards, or is it that no one actually needs monetary rewards? It's just that the software doesn't exist. So we're going to make the software for that. Maybe it's both of those. But I didn't. Anyway, my feedback on the deck is the first slide is probably would be the number one thing to work on. But what is the tagline of this company? What is actually being created here? I mean, it seems like it's just DraftKings for Africa. Is that right?
I don't know if that's right, but that is the thing that at least makes sense to me.
And that just seems like a good product. I don't know that you need that much crypto going on.
I think one of the things I don't fully understand from the pitch deck is like you said, where crypto fits in, how NFTs fit in, because you don't necessarily like the way that you make money in like a typical DraftKings experience you don't need any sort of like digital asset ownership. You just need to pick the right team, and then that's about the end of it. Not sure how like NFTs or any of that fit in.
Yeah, based on so in Daniel's comment that he sent that or in his submission, he wrote, "We're building. There's currently little to no competitive, engaging, and monetized fantasy football on the continent of Africa, and we're the best team to deliver this." So I think the issue is just sort of the addition of all of these elements that aren't strictly necessary. Like I think they can start much simpler. Just build, to Andrew and Daniel's point, DraftKings or whatever for Africa, and then drop the NFTs, drop the elements that are just kind of making this a bit difficult to wrap our heads around.
Yeah, that seems right.
Yeah.
All right. Unless anyone else has any other feedback, let's move on to the next one. For this one, we have Glenstack. Glenstack, they just want some landing page feedback.
Ooh. I want to say I like the space theme, like the little ghosty astronauts. It's memorable. Okay, got it. Interesting. I've heard. I don't know if this is the same company. I don't think it is, but I've heard. I think two pitches that are somewhat similar to this idea. Where, if I understand correctly, you're trying to build a GitHub for data, which is one part of it, where you can kind of upload stuff, diff, collaborate, etc. And the other part of it is you want to be like a live data marketplace for people that are selling like proprietary data to other people. So for example, let's say that I want to buy some alternative data. I go on your website, I do a search, I find like some samples of some people that have the data I'm looking for, and I can transact with them on the platform. So it's kind of like this two-part step of one, you're creating this GitHub-esque experience, and two, you're allowing people to transact. If I'm understanding the products correctly.
Yeah, I think it seems like the advantage is to take it. Well, it seems like the idea is to take advantage of GraphQL's structured natured interaction with data, and I guess build some type of diffable S3. If they want landing page feedback, I mean, to Andrew's point, it's neat, looks nice. I mean, it's lightweight. If they want product feedback, I would say
to chime in here real quick, I've kind of identified, I think, three different things that you are doing. So the first thing is like the Git thing. So there's a company called DoltHub, DoltHub, which is trying to build like very deeply in that space, like make a way to version control your data and allow like Git-esque behavior, like cloning and branching and like etc. So that's one product in and of itself. The other thing, which I think is interesting, is the first one that you mentioned on your landing page, which is creating I'll call it dummy data that powers your app and making that like easily available. So I'm guessing if I needed to create a data from that has a certain schema, that has certain requirements, and use that to power like the alpha of my application, I would come to you guys to generate that and then use your API whenever I'm querying for that data, which also feels like a separate thing. And then there's a company that you might be interested in looking at that a few friends at Retool built out. I'll find it in a bit, but they're basically doing something similar around allowing you to generate dummy data. And the third thing, which sounds like even another thing, is like creating a marketplace for buying and selling data. So if you're like that also feels like something, you know, that's separate. So if you wanted some feedback on like this, it does feel like there are three distinct problems that are being solved, and they are somewhat connected, but I feel that it would be difficult to do like a really, really good job at each of these three things. Where there are, like I said, there are companies that are in each of these different categories. And even if the long-term vision is to kind of expand to all of this, I wonder if the person, like the persona of the person coming in into your landing page has a specific problem they're trying to solve. They're trying to either do one of these three things. They might be trying to do all three of these things, but I'm guessing they're probably prioritizing one. So I guess the feedback I would have is, I understand what you guys are trying to become by being like the end-to-end data platform to solve all your data needs. I'm guessing where you start doesn't have to be that entire thing. My intuition is telling me that like you want to probably focus on a business that's coming to you with a more specific problem than, hey, I'm trying to generate dummy data, I'm trying to collaborate on it, and I'm trying to buy data all at the same time. I think that there's probably a more targeted way you can identify potential customers here.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my take.
Cool.
For what it's worth, I love the landing page though. I think it's really clean. It's memorable. You guys have good, you guys cover like the important stuff. Yeah, so visually looks great.
Move on to tapped lists.
Sounds great.
Tapped lists is a kind of a Pinterest thing.
So this is so John also sent us a pitch deck. So after we do a quick landing page review just to get a sense of what they're building, let's also take a look at their pitch deck.
Landing page looks decent. I mean, this is not obviously the first time this has been done, and so figuring out how to differentiate, I think, is interesting. Like, why is this better than just posting a photo on Instagram of a product or using Pinterest? Maybe the deck will tell us that. That is true. Okay. 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 Cool. I mean, it definitely, this is, I think it's a fair statement that the time is now for something like this. I think that there's a general tide turning against reviews in certain product categories, not all. I just don't know how to punch through and make something that is effective counter positioning that will be good enough to really afford growth in consumer, which is hard. Maybe this is it. Maybe all you need is just an app and you just launch it. You know, the other path, I think a lot of people are trying is to use influencers as a way to have a better form of underwriting for product quality, you know, Oprah's book list, but, you know, for Mr. Beast and for The Rock and for whatnot. So that's another way. I think it's important. I feel like the TAPP people are very correctly honed into a problem. It may be important or helpful to just think about how to really communicate that better in order to have growth. Because I just think it's going to be really hard to punch out and grow. Maybe this thing has a great viral coefficient. Because maybe like your product reviews are shared somehow on Twitter, but I don't know. Maybe I'm too jaded. What do you guys think?
I'm also a little jaded in this category, just because I feel that on the surface, this idea like makes sense. Like I want to know what my friends want to recommend me.
Someone will make something that is more human scale reviews than what internet scale reviews are now. So that is true. I just don't know how to predict how.
So there's a company called Mass, Masse. The website is shopMasse.com. And when I looked at this company, the value proposition is extremely similar. There's like a lot of paid stuff out there. You can't really discern like the truth from the fiction. So what do? Go to your friends and family to get them to recommend you products. And I looked at this company, and there's been a few other ones in the past that have tried to do the same thing, and none of them end up really working out. And understanding why there are so many bodies here. Is it just simply timing? Is it something else? My take on this has been it's hard to replace what is kind of already there in kind of an offline hacky way. So like, for example, if I were to go out and ask recommendations, I would search like products and then maybe Reddit reviews or something like that. If I want to like, even though, okay, that can be game too, but you get that idea of like what I would do to go and try to get recommendations or something, or I'll go to Facebook Messenger and message a bunch of friends. Hey, I'm looking to buy like a standing desk. Which one do you recommend? Right. And then that's kind of how you want to make your decision. And taking all these different behaviors and putting it into an app makes sense on the surface. Like there should be a place for this sort of thing. But what I'm not sure about is if the pull is strong enough. Like there is a problem and you're already kind of solving it. Is this kind of solution that much better than what we're already doing now? Has been kind of my reasoning for why there have been a lot of companies that have gone after this and haven't exactly worked out. I mean, I think everybody would agree that this problem does exist. I think where we would be torn is the magnitude of it, of how existing solutions work versus an idealized one. My advice here is kind of understanding, like, if you could tell me from your pitch deck why now is the right time to do this and convince me of what you're doing differently compared to all the other companies, I think that would be a little stronger, because I feel like the initial reaction an investor has when they look at this is like, yeah, I talked to like a few of these a year and so far it doesn't seem like anything has taken off. I mean, it could be now, but like, I feel like there's a burden of proof in that case.
I wonder if the better answer is to just build more wirecutter.coms. If like you knew that reviews were increasingly useless, maybe there should just be, everyone should go back to having their favorite Wirecutter clone.
Isn't there a cycle though? Like you say all these reviews are like not good enough. They're like paid for. So you build a new Wirecutter, it gets popular. Some at the very end, like when you get popular enough, the products end up being sponsored or somewhat paid for, and you're kind of just like running around in circles chasing your tail.
Oh, totally, yeah. I wouldn't actually build the Wirecutter. I'd build some type of platform to like let every influencer make their own kind of affiliate marketed website or whatnot.
In a way, you found Pinterest.
Well, yes, that's true. But Pinterest is like anyone can play, and I think the value of curation is the exclusivity of the curator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting market. Something will happen here. I firmly believe, like, consumers definitely are fed up with things. I just don't know how to break through. Cool.
So for this next one, Airamp.
Airamp.
Usually Airamp. Despite seeing AI and thinking that's what it is. It is Airamp. They want some landing page feedback, and then I have they have a bit more of a nuanced question, but let's get to the landing page feedback first.
Okay, I can sign up for phase 1. Okay.
Oh, is that Japanese?
I thought, yeah, it looked Korean.
It is. This is a Japanese founder.
Yes, my lessons are paying off.
Gives artists the freedom to revenue share. Okay, so it's like SoundCloud with a cap table. I think you can like post your record, and then there's very transparent revenue share as people listen, I imagine. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, that's cool. Wow, that's awesome.
Funny. Okay, cool. I mean, the landing page to me looks futuristic. It's not really clear. I do think you have to think a little bit too hard about what the product is. I'd probably get rid of this video and replace it with some of these screenshots. I think that would be probably less visually impressive, but more just a more earnest explanation. So that'd be my 2 cents. And there's also SubAmp. There's a lot of things
So
there.
now that you're here, I'll kind of explain the question that Kazuo has. So the Airamp is the core thing that they want to build. The problem is they have to make that work. They have to build video streaming, and that is going to be a lot of effort. And so SubAmp is their MVP. It's basically Patreon for basically multiplayer. In his words, multiplayer Patreon, just the cap table part without the video streaming. And so that means there's quite a big difference between the two MVPs. There's a general question here, which is what it like is that an MVP if it doesn't have that core element? The specific question, of course, here is should he build video streaming and just go straight to Airamp?
Okay, I have no clue what this means. Plus power delay function. What does that mean? Does anyone know?
Wait, hold up. I've been scrolling through each. You mentioned from the question there are 2 things. It looks like to me there are 3 things. There's Airamp, SubAmp, and OnTime. Are those 3 different things?
Oh, I haven't even seen ignore OnTime.
Okay. This is just initial quick bug feedback. I think there's an issue with the cycling of the URLs, where if you click through them, they actually don't go to the right page. If I click on SubAmp after clicking on OnTime, for example, it goes to publish instead of the SubAmp landing page. Just some feedback there. I don't know if it's the same for you. If you click OnTime and then you go back to SubAmp, if it takes you to a different page.
Oh yeah, Daniel, I think you're in some weird. Oh, now you're on SubAmp. Okay, yeah, nice.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, these seem like 2 completely different companies. So I think both could be interesting. I would just pick one and just assume that is going to be the company for now.
It feels like there's a bit of landing page confusion where as I scroll down the SubAmp page, initially you mentioned this thing about multiplayer version of Patreon, and then it morphs into a website builder.
Yeah.
As I scroll down and you start talking, and then there's talking about something called Studio, and like basically a no-code drag and drop website builder, which I don't think is the same as what the initial thing was.
Yeah.
So I think there might be need to be a little bit of cleaning up before we can give good feedback on like what the product is.
I would agree. This looks like some type of multi-layered cake with confusing flavors. Let's see if I put it down.
I guess visually the layout is nice. I just feel like the content seems a little confused. Like it's describing another product.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess the higher level question is if there's fear of doing streaming. I mean, I don't think doing streaming video is that hard because I don't think you actually have to do it. There's like so many companies that will abstract it for you and just give you a URL to embed on your site. So, you know, whether it's like Mux or the 6 different clones of Mux, I think you can probably just pick whatever you want to work on. There's so many abstractions these days. I would just pick from whatever you think is the best business.
All right, with the last 5 minutes that we have one last project, techintern.io.
Cool.
Nice. It's very clear what you do, which I think is great. There's no question there.
The question that King Song has from Canada is how should he go about finding more startups? More paying customers.
Good growth question. Age-old question from the other end of is like, how can we find more people to hire? Exhibit A here at Pioneer. I think there's a few when you think about growth, think about like where are the different channels you can find potential customers, right? You guys found Product Hunt, I'm sure, as a good resource for people to come in, but that's more of a one-time thing. How can you generate, say, like recurring leads? Kind of put on like your sales mindset, your sales hat here. I think there's a few places. One is looking at YC as a great, if you're looking to work at a startup, for example, or if you're looking to have startups as your potential customers, there are around 250 to 300 companies coming out that are looking to hire every single batch. If you look at the companies that get funded, that raise, say, like $2-3 million from their seed or however much from their Series A, they're looking to put that money to work and to hire new engineers or usually engineers. So I feel like going after these, if you're looking to go after startups, then those are some potential great sources of recurring leads that you can pursue. The issue, I think, is sometimes there are a lot of companies that are trying to do this. Like if you look at Hired or AngelList, they are creating this like marketplace for these companies to hire. There are companies that are looking to hire more like junior software people, either as interns or otherwise, and figuring out which companies are doing this is another way of kind of differentiating yourself from all the other potential channels that these companies are going after to hire. So yeah, that's kind of what I would say. If you're looking to go after startups, there are a bunch of resources out there for you to just kind of go and scrape and just literally email them, email the founders and be like, hey, we have smart, motivated students that are looking to intern or get hired as engineers. Are you interested in chatting? And I'm sure that people will be very receptive.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like something like this, although I think it would struggle longer term with moats and maintaining a competitive edge and advantage, except maybe execution and brand moats. It could be a gangbuster success. I think all startups in this market are very thirsty to hire, and conversely, the back office side of the marketplace, I think, should be pretty easy to fill as well. So I don't know. I would question the question. I think it's extremely easy to find startups. They want to be found.
The thing that I would think about, if having used a lot of these and I haven't actually built the college experiment at AngelList, is how do you make this something that people don't just try once and give up on? And so there's some sort of balance here where you have to figure out. It's going to be very hard to make every startup's first experience successful. It's just not going to happen. And so you have to help the startup help your paying user figure out why they should keep coming back. And so if it's very little work and it's very easy to use, then maybe there's nothing you have to do. Maybe they'll just keep coming back. But if I have to, say, browse a lot of bad candidates to find one good candidate, then I'm going to use it once and I'm never going to come back. So there's some sort of proportion of like amount of effort to amount of success that has to be, they have to meet some minimum bar for the startup to actually keep using it beyond that first failed attempt.
To give you a useful framework of thinking about it, like Rishi said, kind of put yourself in the company's shoes, right? Like all companies have the same problem. They need to hire people, hire engineers. They're going to look at every potential channel that they have at their disposal. It's LinkedIn, Hired, AngelList, what Rishi built at AngelList, which is called A-List, or many of these other things. And the thing they're optimizing for is signal quality. If you look at 10 different, there's no reason why you wouldn't try 10 different sources if you're trying to optimize the pool of candidates. What you will do is you'll prune this down if you realize that 5 of these sources are just sending you terrible candidates. Then it's not worth spending your time on them anymore. And you're only going to focus on the 5 that are sending you quality candidates, which are making it past your screen and doing all that. So like Rishi said, like AngelList spent a lot of effort into making sure that the quality of candidates that were being sent to these companies was high, so that they wouldn't, filter us out, and they'd be willing to spend time and money on us. So I think that is the right thing to optimize for, putting yourself in the startup or the company's shoes and being like, okay, we want to give them a good experience. We want to make sure that we're a quality channel. And similarly for your candidates, you want to make sure that you're actually placing them at the end of the day. They have a similar problem, right? They're going to be on all of these platforms. They're going to be on Techintern. They're going to be on AngelList because they're optimizing for the same thing. They're trying to increase the chances of them finding a role at any company. So as a result, there's not a lot of platform affinity for either of these two populations. The best thing that you can do is just kind of give each set of the marketplace the best chance they have of having a good experience of either interviewing or hiring.
I think that's right.
All right. Anything else? Any
Just
final
going to
words?
say again, the landing page looks great. I like that. It's very clear what you do. And if you click for students, it's then very clear what you do. If you click on the for the 4 students in the top right. I don't know if you guys can see that either, but the landing page is also like one application for YC and other fast growing companies. Apply as a common app. I think the value prop is very clear. All right.
Good.
Alrighty, Andrew, Daniel, thanks for joining. That's it for today. If anyone wants to get reviewed live next time, we're doing these once every 4 weeks now. So join the Pioneer Tournament and post on Frontier.
Richie, Andrew, good seeing you both. Jackson, thank you for arranging. See you all soon.